This video is a collaboration with Ollie from PhilosophyTube. So once you're done watching my video and checking out all of my cool opinions, head over to PhilosophyTube and check out all of Ollie's cool thoughts and opinions on this topic. Do you listen to music on your commute? Or do you listen to music at work? Maybe you put a record on and turn out all the lights in your house and focus all of your attention on it. If so, you are probably listening to music wrong. Most of us listen to music in a variety of ways. We put on a songs playlist to clean our apartment. We download new albums from Rdio and sync them to our phone for a long drive. I wrote this script to the new Copyrights album. It is good. Before 1877 and Edison's invention of the phonograph, music had to be experienced in person. It was fleeting and inherently social. While you had music boxes and sheet music, me banging Midwestern pop punk to carry my shitty brain over a research hump was not an option. We've covered the evolution of portable music in a two-part collaboration with Blink Pop Shift. Great videos, you should watch them, but what about the mechanics of how we're actually listening to all of that music? PhilosophyTube is going to talk about aesthetic theory and how we should listen to music, but I want to talk about how we're doing it and what it is doing to us.
Music drives me crazy. That's the way to get groovy.
If you spend 8 hours a day at work, there's a good chance that you spend up to 8 hours a day listening to music. Whether it's the muzak of the grocery store where you chop up deli meats, or the radio you listen to in the truck you drive, or the headphones that you put on to drown out the endless crap around you.
Every time you wanted to listen to the TV and she didn't want to hear it.
Come on, kids, I'm trying to listen to this.
And all those times you couldn't hear your program because they're making too much noise. Now there's a solution that'll keep everyone happy.
Different music triggers dramatically different responses in our brains. So if you have a desk job and you listen to Adele all day, which according to Spotify is what the majority of workday listeners are streaming, you are fucking up completely.
I've made up my mind. Don't need to think it over. If I'm wrong, I am right.
Listening to music can trick our brains into thinking that less time has passed than actually has. It's why hold music exists. Some Adele at work can help the day fly by, but it also dramatically affects your productivity in a negative way. Numerous studies have shown that listening to emotional music with lyrics has, and I quote, while I look at my script, significant negative effects on concentration and attention.
And that's exactly.
Sarah? Do you mind?
Sorry. My bad. Seriously, you won't even know I'm here. I'm sorry.
All right.
What about when you and your friends are ripping through the city in your hot new whip, screaming along to Imagine by John Lennon, because for some reason that was the song used in a study on singing along to the radio while driving? Surprise! You're gonna die.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try.
You're probably not gonna die, I guess, but singing along to the radio may slow your response to potential hazards. The increased mental workload will cause you to ignore the visual field around you and focus only on the road right in front of you. But maybe you are a professional cyclist, in which case you should listen to all of the emotional and lyrical music you can find, unless you bike in a city. That's not safe. Studies have shown that cyclists who listen to music use 7% less oxygen than those who don't.
Baby girl, where you at? Got no strings, got men attached. Can't stop that feeling for long, no.
That was Robin Thicke, in case you forgot how cool he used to look. Listening to music releases dopamine in your brain. It's the same as eating food or having sex or snorting a lot of cocaine off of a close friend's butt, which is useful if you're at the gym or recovering from surgery, since music can actually lower your blood pressure. But if you're listening to music just to crush reps or lower your blood pressure, are you actually listening to music? I mean, are you appreciating music as an art form? You wouldn't haul ass across the country with a beautiful collection of Rembrandts. And yet some people can't even be bothered to set up their stereos correctly. I mean, there's a left channel and there's a right channel. They should be set up left and right so that you hear music the way it was recorded and mixed as it was intended to sound for you as a listener. Some people just put speakers wherever they want in their room, which is not the point of speakers. And then you have the EQ setting. Ideally, that should be flat. It's someone's job to make sure that that sounds correct, and you just pump up the bass because you think it sounds cooler and it distorts and it's stupid, and you download MP3s at a terrible bit rate and you get that crackly, horrible sound at the top, and I don't even know why you're listening.
You're making dogs wanna beg.
If you really want to understand the theory behind listening to music properly and not just listen to me complain about your stereo setup, head on over to PhilosophyTube and check out Ollie's video. How do you listen to music? Do you give a new record your undivided attention, or do you just shuffle it to get through your workday? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for new episodes of This Exists every week. Please, please flatten your EQ settings. Last week's episode was all about whether or not a movie could kill you. EW275X brings up The Sorrows of Young Werther, which was a short story that we actually referred to a few times in our episode about whether or not a song could cause you to kill yourself. You can tell that there's sort of a small segment of things that I am interested in. And the idea of this is that suicides are not made public because there's a sort of weird, disturbed, natural human tendency to want to copy how people have killed themselves, or potentially how people have committed crimes, and that perhaps this is what's playing out in some of these murderous films that we talked about. An interesting idea, and also a great other episode of the show that you should enjoy. Insert name here said that they'd have to kill themselves if they ever watched Batman and Robin again, which I don't think is entirely fair because that movie has tons of kitsch value, and I'd encourage you to watch it one more time. Unless that would actually kill you, in which case I am not advocating that you die. Mathieu Leader brings up a few interesting ideas, one of which was the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan by John Hinckley Jr., who did so because he was obsessed with Taxi Driver, and in particular with Jodie Foster. He thought that killing the president would get Jodie Foster's attention. It doesn't quite fall into the sphere of what we were talking about in last week's episode, but it is a very, very strange and fascinating piece of cinematic history, of presidential history, of attempted assassination history, of Robert De Niro history, all different histories. But the obsession with Jodie Foster, I don't have a point here, is just totally fucked up and interesting. Mary Castrillon wrote, "Lol, I watched a movie just before watching this, which concerned me, and I asked, you all right? And she responded only, sure." Power Category 5, great name, wondered, how is John Wayne Genghis Khan, of course talking about The Conqueror, one of the deadliest movies of all time because of all of the cast and crew developing cancer? That is an excellent question, and if you have not watched The Conqueror, I encourage you to do so. It's one of those beautiful, so bad it's good movies. The Razzies recognized it with some sort of like Lifetime Achievement Razzie. I don't know what that's called or what that is, but it is widely considered, if you haven't seen it, one of the most terrible films ever made. And you will still wonder at the end of it, why is John Wayne Genghis Khan? Keebler 503 mentioned Colors, the Dennis Hopper movie all about gangs in LA that supposedly had a number of gang-related shootings in movie theaters when it opened. I can't tell if this is just an urban legend or if any of this actually happened. It's difficult to find all this information on the internet. Admittedly, I did not spend a ton of time looking it up, so for sure someone has already commented on this video to let me know how many people died because of the film Colors. But if you haven't seen it, it's actually an excellent film, great soundtrack by Ice-T, and then he makes this disturbing Alex Jones connection of like body count, colors, people being killed, the Illuminati. So maybe don't watch that movie because I don't know who's gonna get in your brain. Drenantify, or Dr. Inantify, gave a pretty detailed breakdown of the version of The Devils that is available on Amazon in the UK. So if you're interested in trying to find that movie, which I lied and told you was totally impossible, it's not totally impossible, but the original version is extremely difficult to come by. A lot of the footage was destroyed, it's heavily censored, it's hard to know which version you're watching at any time, but in the comments last week he broke down what you could expect to find if you did buy that movie from Amazon in the UK, and it's worthwhile to check out if you want to watch that movie. Because this episode is all about how to listen to or not listen to music, I want to recommend Mystery Train by Grail Marcus as this week's book. No book about music that I've read in the last several years opened up my mind to understanding what was special about an artist like this book did with Elvis Presley, who was someone I never really fully appreciated. I would always just dismiss him as a white person copying all the amazing black music of that era. And it turns out that Elvis is actually kind of amazing. And it's a lot of detail about the Sun sessions and what made him special and compelling as a performer, independent from the culture that he was kind of jacking. There's all kinds of other great stuff about the birth and evolution of American rock and roll in there. Greil is obviously a celebrated and fantastic writer, but truly this book made me listen to Elvis in a way that I never had before, and not just in a contextual way, but in a very genuine, musically appreciative way. So I cannot say enough good things about Mr. Train by Greil. He really needs the shout out for sure too.